Chapter 4. By the time his SP climbed again, he knew what he lacked. He could approach. He could strike. But experienced ninja could sense intent. They reacted too quickly for someone like him to respond effectively. He needed misdirection. So he summoned something weak. Something overlooked and unique to Western fantasy worlds like Dungeons and Dragons. Second summon, Lesser Illusion Fairy. The summoning produced a soft pop. A glow no brighter than a candle flame. A tiny winged figure hovered uncertainly in the air, translucent and pastel-colored, barely humanoid. Its cute voice chimed like glass. "Ah, hello. Oh, a contract. I accept, please don't squash me." Summon confirmed. Entity, Lesser Illusion Fairy. Tier, Minor Magical Support. Cost, 10 SP. Combat Capability, negligible. Electra raised an eyebrow. "Really? That's it?" The fairy puffed up defensively. "I'll have you know I am excellent at being annoying." It was perfect. Fairy abilities. Innate skills. Minor visual distortions, flickers, silhouettes. Sound misplacement, footsteps, whispers. Light emotional nudging, unease, curiosity. Shared magic ability. The fairy could temporarily merge its mana flow with the MC. Temporary ability granted. Minor illusion casting. Duration, 30 to 90 seconds. Cooldown, severe fatigue. No chakra, no hand signs. Just illusion crude, imperfect, but foreign to the ninja world. First combined use. The first time he used both summons together, he understood synergy. A genin paused, sensing something off. The fairy flickered a shadow to the left. Electra whispered, "Now." The illusion masked his intent. The strike landed clean, a blade to through the top of the head. The system chimed. Kill confirmed, genin. Summoning points gained, 6. No witnesses, no chakra residue. What he learned so far. Power doesn't need to be loud. Weak summons can be extremely useful for tactics. Foreign magic confuses shinobi instincts and training matters more than stats. Standing alone afterward, Electra wiped her blade and glanced at him. "You're dangerous," she said. "Not because you kill but because you learn quickly." The fairy hovered near his shoulder, yawning. "And because you're very sneaky." He smiled faintly. This was only the beginning. The fairy's price. The fairy hated being seen. Not in a dramatic way, no tragic backstory, no ancient curse or something. She simply preferred warmth, fabric, and secrecy. Sleeves were excellent. Collars were acceptable. Inner pockets were luxury. When summoned, she almost always vanished, immediately reappearing moments later as a faint bulge beneath his scarf or tucked inside the folds of his shirt. Electra noticed instantly. "You have something alive in your clothes, little man," she said once. The fairy poked her head out indignantly. "I am strategically concealed," sticking his tongue out at Electra. Despite her usefulness, illusion magic had a cost. Not to him but for her. Illusion magic drawbacks, system clarified. Lesser illusion fairy, limitation notice. Continuous illusion usage beyond 20 minutes causes severe mana depletion, loss of wing stability, emotional desynchronization, panic, embarrassment. At 30 minutes, the fairy will faint instantly, enter forced hibernation for 72 hours, be unsummonable during this period. Upon awakening, fairy experiences acute embarrassment, avoids eye contact, actively hides more than usual, refuses to speak about the incident, and the first time it happened, he didn't know. They were escaping a patrol. Illusions layered, shadows doubled, footsteps echoed where none existed. The fairy stayed silent far longer than usual. Then, she slipped from his collar and dropped like a petal. He caught her, tiny, warm, unconscious. The system chimed far too calmly. Summon, Lesser Illusion Fairy hibernation state. Duration, 3 days. When she woke days later, she refused to come out of his sleeve. "I passed out," she muttered. "In front of everyone. No one saw," he said gently. "You saw me, I know it." She crawled deeper into the fabric. From then on, He watched the time carefully, not wanting to hurt his little cute. Electra just laughed softly. Chapter 5. POV Shift. Kumogakure. The disappearances were no longer isolated enough to go unnoticed by the nosy ninjas. That was the problem. Inside a dim operations room, 3 Kumo shinobi stood over a map marked with red pins. Merchant routes, old roads, peripheral paths rarely patrolled during wartime. Darui frowned. This is too clean. An Anbu captain nodded. No chakra residue left at the scene, no signs of jutsu either. Bandits maybe, someone suggested. Darui shook his head. Bandits leave messes behind, they don't care about tracking. These don't have the common signs. Another shinobi spoke quietly. And it's always outside the village perimeter. Like someone avoiding investigation. Silence stretched. Could it be an enemy village? The captain asked. Darui exhaled smoke lazily. During the Second War, everyone's bleeding. But this feels personal. I suspect it's someone from within the village. A lingered thought went unspoken. Someone is learning to hunt people. Orders were given. More patrols were initiated. Anbu eyes turned inward as suspicion grew in turbulent times of war. POV shift. The choice to leave. He felt it before he saw it. The air around the village had changed. Too many eyes. Too many chakra signatures overlapping on routes that used to be empty. Too many coincidences. Electra confirmed it quietly. They're tightening their patrols. It seems you're gaining attention, even though they don't know who it is yet. The fairy peeked out of his sleeve. Also, vibes are bad. It's not safe to hunt the same way. That settled it. Staying at the orphanage was no longer a great idea, so he and his summons decided to leave the village. The war made movement easier. Refugees, deserters, wandering shinobi caused enough chaos for him to escape the village. The turmoil covered tracks better than stealth ever could. That night, he didn't return to the orphanage. He left quietly, slipping through terrain he'd mapped for years, avoiding patrols with patience rather than speed. He did not want to be investigated by the Anbu. Those guys would literally torture the shit out of him if they suspected any link to the deaths. Living a hermit's life was easy during war. There were many locations with minimal life for me and my summons to set up temporary camps, such as abandoned shrines and villages, collapsed watchtowers, forests scorched and forgotten. He didn't need comfort, rather he needed distance from the Anbu. When he was finally far enough from major activity zones, he got to the important stuff. He started training harder this time around. No witnesses to stress about and no village ninja who will ask too many questions. Electra drilled him mercilessly using more aggressive combat drills. The fairy rested more often, curled up and humming softly inside his clothes whenever he wasn't being beaten up by the smiling Electra. And eventually, opportunity came for a higher-level target, a single Chunin patrol. The target wasn't random. A lone Chunin, wounded, separated from his unit after a skirmish between villages. He moved carefully, but pain slowed him. Overconfidence in his skill dulled his awareness. Cairo waited patiently for days and studied his future target. With the help of Electra, he studied his routine, his sentry habits and the way his chakra flared briefly when he sensed something. It was always a fraction too late. On the 4th day of observation, he decided to use the magic-based illusions of the fairy and hit the Chunin with a relaxing wave of emotional illusions targeting his agitated state, allowing him to further drop his guard. And then the fairy used sound-based illusion to mimic the sounds of the nature to deceive the ninja into thinking he was alone and no one would attack. When the strike came, it was clean. No panic. Electra watched silently from the trees as Cairo, relying on his silent steps, he snuck up behind the Chunin and buried the blade diagonally into his neck and out left chest region. The fairy covered her eyes as she didn't like seeing death and blood. When it was done and the target was cold, the system spoke. Kill confirmed. Target classification, Chunin. Summoning points gained, 12. He closed his eyes. This one felt different, more impactful than hunting civilians. After the kill he didn't linger. He moved camps that same night. Hermit life meant never growing attached to places or routines. As lightning cracked in the distance, Elektra finally spoke. You've crossed into real danger now, and once his superiors find out something's wrong. He nodded. I know. The fairy peeked out. On the bright side, we're very sneaky. As she giggles. He allowed himself a small smile in this turbulent world. Chapter 6. Cairo, System Review. Cairo crouched beneath a leaning cedar, rain ticking softly against the leaves above him. The forest here was thin, close to the Kumo border, and had good visibility, bad cover. He'd chosen it on purpose. Movement was visible from here. He exhaled and called the interface. Status. The world dimmed mentally as the system unfolded itself like a ledger written directly onto his thoughts. Summoning system, active interface. Host, Cairo. Age, 12. Chakra, none. Permanent. Personal energy core, stable. Active summons limit, 2. Summoning points, SP 112. Cairo let that number settle. The panels expanded. Available entity summons. Current stage. Street, low enhanced tier. Elektra Nachios, street level assassin. 7 SP, owned. Peak human fighters, e.g. Batman, Sekiro, Captain Levi, The Punisher, 6 to 15 SP. Minor magical creatures, fairies, nymphs, anthros, tree elves, 8 to 12 SP. Miku, owned. Enhanced animals, constructs, baby dragons, guide spiders, 10 to 20 SP. Restricted, locked, insufficient authority. Jonin equivalent entities, low mid-level demons. Mass summon units like a tribe of works and Uryx. Conceptual beings, bleach death gods. Item summons, partial unlock. Utility, silent short blade, reinforced, 3 SP. Cloak of sound dampening, 5 SP. Emergency rations, 30 days, 2 SP. Medical salve, non-chakra, 4 SP. Combat, escape. Smoke pellets, non-chakra, 2 SP. Minor anti-detection charm, 6 SP. One-time body reinforcement tonic, 8 SP. Cairo closed the interface. I'm still at the early stage, he thought. But it's enough. The village at the edge. He found the village at dusk. Small, poor, too close to contested land to matter to anyone important. Smoke rose in uneven plumes. That alone told him everything. Cairo moved closer, staying low, breath controlled. The smell hit him next: burnt wood, blood and fear. Dirty, untrained bandits. Just men with blades and confidence born from knowing no one was coming. They moved through the village clumsily, shouting, kicking indoors. Bodies lay in the dirt, men who had tried to fight back. Women and children were being tied together near the central well. Cairo's jaw tightened. This wasn't a target he'd planned. But opportunity rarely announced itself politely. He slipped back into cover and summoned Elektra. She appeared instantly, already focused. Track them, Cairo whispered. Find their hideout, numbers and weak points. I'll come find you later. Elektra nodded once. She vanished into shadow, moving with the ease of someone born for this kind of work. Cairo stayed behind, not to help but to scavenge. A few minutes later, he was inside a half-collapsed house, checking cupboards for supplies, when the pressure changed. Attention was on him, his neck hair stood up. Hey, a voice barked. You, don't move. Cairo turned slowly. A genin stood in the doorway, kunai raised. Young and nervous, chakra flaring unevenly. Behind him, two more presences, stronger. A tunin and another genin, moving through the village outside. Cloud patrol, Cairo realized. Bad timing. The genin's eyes flicked over him. TCH, just a kid, he muttered. You're coming with. Quote. He lunged. That was his mistake. Miku, Cairo hissed. The fairy burst from his collar in a shimmer of light. Oh no no no. HYAAA, she squeaked and then unleashed everything. Swish, swish, swish. The genin's world bent. Walls shifted. The floor tilted. Cairo appeared in 3 places at once. Whispers crawled into the genin's ears from the wrong directions. His balance faltered. His chakra spiked uselessly, trying to ground a reality that no longer made sense. What's this? A genjutsu. Cairo didn't hesitate. One clean motion. The blade flashed and the genin collapsed without a sound. Cairo didn't look twice. Miku. Now. She was already dimming, wings flickering erratically. 20 minutes, almost. He ran. Straight for the forest. Straight for the path Electra had taken. Behind him, Miku vanished back into his clothes, mortified and exhausted. Don't talk about this, she mumbled faintly. 5 minutes later, Cloud Shinobi. The Chunin knelt beside the body, fingers brushing the genin's neck. Gone. No chakra residue. No jutsu marks. This was uncommon. Even civilians left some chakra residue. The remaining genin swallowed hard. Senpai. What happened? The Chunin's expression darkened. This wasn't bandits, he said quietly. This was done by someone skilled. He stood. Someone's operating here, he continued. And they're not using chakra, or they're so advanced in chakra. That disturbed him far more than he wanted to admit. POV, Electra. The bandit camp sat in a shallow ravine, hidden by arrogance rather than skill. Too many fires. Too much noise. Too little discipline. Electra moved along the perimeter, counting the amount of bandits, watching and memorizing their movements, and came to simple conclusion: these were maters, she judged. Dangerous only because they relied on numbers and they target docile civilians. She was marking escape routes when a presence approached, ragged breathing, uneven steps. She turned just as Cairo stumbled into the edge of her awareness. He stopped, bent over, hands on his knees, sweat glistening as it ran down his face. They found me, he said between breaths. Cloud Shinobi. One genin's dead. Electra's eyes sharpened, not with panic, but in calculation. Then we don't linger here, she said. And we don't go back either. She glanced toward the camp. Then back at Cairo. You ready to move from hunting strays, she asked calmly, to cutting out rot? Cairo straightened slowly. His eyes were steady. Yeah, he said. I am. Behind them, the forest swallowed their silhouettes. Blood, fire, and decisions that would push Cairo past the point of quiet survival. Chapter 7. Cairo, Final Preparations. Hidden in the treeline overlooking the ravine, Cairo steadied his breathing and opened the system one last time before committing. This wasn't improvisation anymore. This was execution of experienced killers. He decided to buy 4 items to assist in the upcoming mission. System transaction log. Smoke pellets, non-chakra, 2 SP checkmark. Minor anti-detection charm, 6 SP checkmark. Silent short blade, reinforced, 3 SP checkmark. Cloak of sound dampening, 5 SP checkmark. SP remaining, 96. The items manifested quietly on his body like a video game equip. The blade felt perfectly balanced in his hand, weight-tuned for close work. The cloak settled around his shoulders like a second skin, muting even the sound of fabric shifting. Miku peeked out from his collar, eyes wide. Oh, you got new nice things. Does that mean we're doing the killing stuff now? Cairo nodded once. 5 minutes, he said softly. No more, we can't stay too long here. Electra's voice came from the darkness. Then don't waste seconds thinking too much, it'll cost you. They made their way towards the perimeter of the camp. A minute later they were positioned in strategic locations. Smoke pellets rolled into the outer ring of the camp. Not thick clouds but thin, deceptive plumes that clung low to the ground. Enough to blur silhouettes. Enough to confuse depth perception. Bandits shouted. Hey, what's that? Miku flickered into view, splitting into 3 identical fairies darting in opposite directions. Over here. No, over there. I saw someone. Panic bloomed amongst they were running around like headless chickens. Cairo moved. The cloak swallowed sound. Footsteps vanished. The blade rose and fell with practiced economy, no hesitation, no pause. Thud, 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 thud. Bodies dropped quietly into the dirt. 2 bandits tried to regroup near the fire pit. Miku twisted the light just enough to impact perception. One man saw his ally where Kairo stood. The strike to the temple ended the confusion permanently. Miku zipped back into Kairo's sleeve, whispering urgently, "Timer, timer." "I know," Kairo murmured. Electra entered the camp proper. She walked straight toward the leader's tent, disarming 2 bandits without breaking stride. One hit the ground hard enough to understand how outclassed he was, but not hard enough to die. He was bleeding out though. The bandit leader burst from his tent, blade raised, shouting threats that died in his throat when Electra caught his wrist and twisted. The blade clattered uselessly to the ground. "You prey on villages and capture women as sex slaves," she said calmly, forcing him to his knees. "Because you think no one stronger cares." She leaned closer. "You were wrong." She struck him multiple times all over the body, not to kill. Just enough to break his will. The final strike was aimed at him, small balls, crushing them with a sickening squelch. The man sobbed. Kairo reached the captives. Ropes cut. Children pulled free. Women shaken, eyes hollow but alive. "Run to the closest village," Kairo said quietly. "Don't look back." They left immediately without hesitation. ... Silence returned to the ravine. Fires burned unattended. Bandits lay scattered, unmoving, none aware of how quickly it had ended. Electra dragged the leader forward and dropped him at Kairo's feet. "He'll live," she said. "Long enough to remember." Kairo looked at the man once, then turned away. "Let's move." Miku slumped weakly inside his clothes. 5 minutes exactly. "I'm amazing, as usual," she giggled. They didn't linger. Kairo already knew the truth. He hadn't covered his tracks well enough. Not with Cloud Shinobi this close. As they moved through the forest, Kairo opened the system again. System transaction log. One-time body reinforcement tonic 8 SP checkmark. SP remaining, 88. The vial felt warm in his hand. Insurance. ... POV, Cloud Chunin. The trail wasn't obvious. That bothered him. Broken branches but too deliberate. Footprints but inconsistent. The air felt wrong, like intention had passed through and refused to leave a signature. The remaining genin whispered, "Senpai, I feel like we're being watched by someone or something." "You are," the Chunin said calmly. "Stay close." That's when the forest shifted. Shadows moved where light should be. Sounds echoed from behind when they came from ahead. Miku's illusions wrapped around them, subtle but relentless. The genin faltered. "Wait, I think I see." He never finished that sentence as Electra emerged from nowhere. One clean motion. The genin fell as his body relaxes and lets out a wet squish sound as his body lost control and released his bladders and intestine content. The sound was loud enough to be heard. ... The illusion was disrupted. The Chunin saw everything. The body. The boy standing behind her, too calm. Chakra flared as the Chunin drew his blade, eyes locked on Kairo. "You," he said slowly. "You killed my team." Kairo felt the weight of the moment settle fully for the first time. He reached into his cloak and wrapped his fingers around the tonic. Electra shifted into a ready stance. Miku hid deep inside his clothes, whispering, I can still help a little." The forest held its breath. And for the first time, Kairo stood face to face with a true shinobi opponent, knowing that secrecy had ended, and survival would now be earned openly. Chapter 8. The Chunin Fight. The forest felt smaller the moment the Chunin released his chakra. It rolled outward in a controlled surge, disciplined and practiced, pressing against the trees, bending leaves, forcing presence into the air. Not overwhelming, but assertive. "This isn't bandit work," the Chunin said, blade angled low, feet set perfectly. "And it's not civilian either." His eyes locked onto Kairo. "You're an enemy shinobi, aren't you?" Kairo didn't answer. Electra shifted half a step forward, her stance loose, unreadable. To the Chunin, she was the greater threat, an experienced killer with no visible chakra signature. That misjudgment saved Kairo's life. The Chunin moved first. A blur of motion, chakra reinforcing his legs as he closed the distance instantly, blade flashing toward Elektra's centerline. She parried just in time. Metal rang. The force behind the strike sent her skidding back several steps, boots carving lines into the dirt. Cairo felt it immediately. Chakra-enhanced strength. I can't trade blows. He moved wide, circling, cloak swallowing his steps. The Chunin adjusted smoothly, never losing sight of Elektra, throwing a quick kick to force distance before launching a flurry of cuts meant to overwhelm. Elektra blocked, redirected, avoided, but each exchange cost her ground. She was skilled. He was enhanced. Cairo flicked a smoke pellet. The Chunin reacted instantly, chakra flaring around his senses, slicing through the haze with practiced awareness. Genjutsu or, he snapped. Something unknown, a different illusion system perhaps. Miku whispered from Cairo's collar, forcing a distortion at the edge of the Chunin's perception. Not a full illusion, just a delay. A half-second of uncertainty. Enough for Elektra to slip behind him. She struck for the spine. The Chunin twisted at the last moment, taking the blow on his shoulder guard and countering with a brutal elbow reinforced by chakra. Elektra was sent rolling on the ground. Cairo's heart spiked. We're losing. Cairo reached into his cloak. His fingers closed around the vial. Now, he snapped the stopper and drank. The tonic burned like liquid iron. Every muscle in his body screamed as something switched on, not chakra, not magic, but raw biological overdrive. His bones felt heavier, denser. His heartbeat thundered. The system updated instantly. One-time body reinforcement, active. Physical output, temporarily elevated. Cairo stepped forward. The ground crunched under his foot. The Chunin noticed too late. Cairo moved quickly, not faster than the Chunin but no longer slow. When the blade came for him, Cairo deflected it with his reinforced short blade, the impact ringing sharply through the forest. The Chunin's eyes widened. You are. Cairo didn't let him finish. He struck low, hard, driving a kick into the Chunin's knee with strength that matched Chunin-level chakra reinforcement. The joint buckled. He was now compromised. Elektra capitalized instantly. She was inside the Chunin's guard before he could reset, blades flashing with ruthless precision. Miku pushed again, light bending, shadows doubling. The Chunin lashed out wildly, chakra flaring, but his rhythm was gone. Cairo closed in. The reinforced blade slid home between defenses. The Chunin stiffened as the blade pierced his heart, then fell. Silence reclaimed the clearing. Cairo stood still for several seconds, chest rising and falling hard as the tonic's effects began to slowly fade. Elektra checked the perimeter instinctively. We need to move, now. Cairo nodded. Far away, unseen and unheard, a small chakra flare dissipated into nothing. A message already sent. Cairo leaned against a tree and opened the interface. Summoning system, status update. Kill confirmed. Target, Cloud Chunin. SP gained, 12. Total summoning points, 100. Physical status. Strength output, approximately equals 200 kilograms. Lifting force, temporary boost fading. Base strength, peak human, non-chakra. Speed, peak human. Endurance, high conditioned. Cairo wiped sweat from his brow. That was too close, he muttered. Miku peeked out weakly. I need a nap soon, I'm getting sleepy. Elektra sheathed her blades. Reinforcements will come. That man fought like he expected backup. Cairo's jaw tightened. Then we changed the board. Next step, a new summon. Cairo opened the entity list again. One option pulsed faintly. Available summon. Enhanced Beast Class. Name, Juvenile Red Dragon. Cost, 14 SP. Stage, Hatchling, Youngling. Threat level, Low, Current, Extreme, Future. Abilities, Current Stage. Draconic Physiology. Hardened Scales, Light Armor. Enhanced Vitality and Regeneration. Fire Affinity, Minor. Small Flame Breath, Short Range. Heat Resistance. Aerial Mobility. Limited Flight Gliding. Predatory Awareness. Detects hostile intent, non-chakra based. Shared ability, Summoner Link. Similar to Miku's illusion sharing. Cairo can temporarily borrow. Heat resistance. Enhanced lung capacity. Brief flame manipulation, minor. Cooldown and fatigue apply. Cairo stared at the listing. A summon that could grow. A presence that would change how enemies approached him. Something that didn't rely on stealth alone. He closed the interface slowly. Next time, he said quietly, glancing toward the direction the Chunin had come from, I won't be running. The forest stirred, and somewhere in the land of lightning, cloud reinforcements were already moving, unaware that they were about to hunt something that was no longer merely surviving. Chapter 9. Ashes in the Rain. Cairo didn't stop running for 3 days. He avoided roads, avoided rivers where trackers might read disturbances, avoided villages that flew cloud banners. The baby dragon, still unnamed, clung to him constantly, small claws hooking into cloth, wings wrapped tight whenever Cairo's breathing grew erratic. Miku fainted halfway through the first night. Illusion overuse. 20 minutes pushed into nearly an hour under stress. She reappeared briefly, flickering like a candle in wind. I'm sorry, Master, she whispered weakly, crying before vanishing into forced hibernation for the next 3 days. He reached an abandoned storage shed near a forgotten farming settlement outside Cloud's current patrol radius. War had stretched the borders thin. Remote villages slipped through the cracks. The abandoned settlements looked like a ghost town after artillery bombing. Cairo collapsed inside. He didn't cry immediately, he just sat there staring at the damaged wall. The dragon nudged his hand. Electra's last expression replayed in his mind on a loop. Cairo slammed his fist into the dirt floor. Thud thud thud. Again and again and again. His knuckles split open from the force. The dragon squeaked, startled, then crawled into his lap and pressed its warm body against his chest. That broke him out of his angry trance. Cairo folded forward and sobbed, silently at first, then shaking, then gasping like something was tearing loose from his lungs. I told her to stay behind. The words came fractured. The bond with the dragon pulsed gently, confused but comforting. When Miku finally reappeared 3 days later, weak and embarrassed, she saw him sitting in the dark, eyes hollow. And she started crying too. Not loud, just tiny, hiccuping sobs as she hid in his collar. I'm sorry, couldn't help, she whispered. I couldn't. Quote. Cairo closed his hand around her gently. It wasn't you, don't cry. You did your best, but it also wasn't anyone else. And that was worse. Underscore. Grief lasts days. Hunger lasts L. Reality lasts forever. Cloud would hunt him. They would label him missing Nin, enemy agent, rogue asset, all of the above. If he stayed weak, Electra's death meant nothing. So the boy who once hunted for survival began hunting for revenge. For 7 months he was a menacing death wraith. He avoided shinobi. Too risky. Too unpredictable. Instead he hunted the war's parasites. Bandit groups thriving in destabilized trade routes. Slavers operating near border villages. Deserters who preyed on farmers for resources and small-time thugs he'd come across. He didn't attack large villages. He didn't attack extremely civilians either. He chose targets that would not be investigated heavily. At first, it was messy. The first bandit he killed after Electra's death made him vomit. He still suffered from lose of his summons and the person he grew to care about. The 5th kill didn't bother him as much anymore. The 20th felt procedural. Miku struggled on the other hand. She disliked extended illusion use. After 20 minutes, dizziness crept in. After 30, her wings trembled. Once, she pushed too far and fainted mid-mission, forcing Cairo to retreat. Each time, she hid in his clothes afterward, embarrassed. I'm supposed to be helpful. You are Miku, don't feel bad about your limits, they change in the future, he said every time she doubted herself. The dragon grew, slowly, especially since Cairo let him eat some of the dead bodies they'd find. As long as it wasn't too rotten, the little guy would chomp down with enthusiastic movements. Its wings strengthened over time. Flame breath extended from a spark to a short, controlled cone strong enough to burn a body to as in minutes. Its scales hardened from soft crimson to metallic ember. Cairo began borrowing its heat resistance during winter raids and borrowed lung strength during long sprints. The system recorded everything. System accumulation, 7 months. Small bandit camps, 3 to 6 members each. Larger caravan raiders, 8 to 12 members. Points accumulated steadily, numbers rising in the corner of his vision. By the end of 7 months, total summoning points, 312 SP. Cairo stared at the number for a long time. It wasn't survival anymore. It was preparation for something greater and more dangerous. He opened the summoning catalog and filtered. Strength augmentation, combat superiority, durable frontline assets. He no longer searched for stealth mentors. He searched for power. Meanwhile, the underground market. In a dimly lit tavern carved into the side of a neutral territory canyon, information changed hands more fluidly than currency. A broker unfolded a small scroll. Cloud has posted a shadow bounty on some kid. Across from him sat a masked intermediary from the land of Earth. On who? An unknown rogue operative, possibly foreign trained or something. He killed one Chunin unit and a reinforcement squad scout. That doesn't warrant a shadow bounty. The broker leaned closer. They suspect he's got unique and strong summons. Silence fell, like an animal contract, unconfirmed. Witness reports mention heat damage inconsistent with fire release as there wasn't chakra residue left behind. Another figure at the table, cloaked, quiet, spoke for the first time. How much is it? Alive. High reward at about 100,000 ryo and dead is 50,000 ryo. The cloaked figure's eyes sharpened. Summoners were valuable, and the powerful one was even more valuable, especially if you could get their summoning technique. And if Cloud was worried, others should be too. Back to Cairo. Cairo stood on a cliff overlooking a forest valley. The dragon was larger now, nearly wolf-sized as it sat proudly beside him, smoke curling lazily from its nostrils. Miku rested against his collar, big eyes watching him quietly. You've changed a lot, my master, she said softly. Cairo didn't deny it. I won't lose another summon again. ... He opened the system again. 312 SP. Enough for something significant. Not ultimate, but transformative. The boy who once ran from Chunin now stood calculating how to surpass them permanently. The war was still raging. Cloud was searching for him and elsewhere the underground market was whispering. And somewhere in the system's deeper tiers, bigger entities waited for him to grow strong enough to summon them. Chapter 10. Cairo didn't summon immediately. He studied. For the first time in months, he wasn't looking at combat entities. He was looking at modifiers, like something close-person upgrades that will help him fight on even ground with ninjas and samurai. __. He begins following the river until he comes across ridge and decided to check real quick. After a few minutes of searching he found a cave. The cave sat in a rocky ridge overlooking a dead trade road, abandoned since the war shifted north and no civilian would show up here and no patrol markers. No fresh. Good enough. The dragon, now nearly the size of a large wolf, curled near the entrance, smoke curling lazily from its nostrils as it watched the tree line. Miku hovered weakly beside Cairo's shoulder. You're doing that scary quiet thing with the eyebrows again. Cairo ignored her for now and opened the system. Systems shop, special modifiers. One listing pulsed brighter than the rest. Mid-tier physical enhancement serum. Cost, 120 SP. Permanent biological rewrite. Risk, severe pain during assimilation. Compatibility, high current body conditioning adequate. He scrolled further. Summon enhancement serum, minor right pointing arrow mid-evolution. Cost, 70 SP. Applicable, low-tier bound summons only. His total, 312 SP. He did the math once. Then again. No hesitation this time. First purchase, minus 120 SP. Remaining, 192 SP. A reinforced vial materialized in his hand, thick crimson liquid, heavy, warm. Miku swallowed nervously. Is it going to hurt? She asked. Yeah, but don't worry, I'll be okay. He drank it without ceremony, not thinking too much. The pain hit instantly. His muscles spasmed violently as fibers thickened beyond human density. Bones groaned under pressure. His heartbeat slowed, then thundered like a war drum. The dragon stood instantly, sensing danger, flame flickering between its teeth. Cairo collapsed to one knee, teeth grinding so hard his jaw cracked and snapped audibly before healing seconds later. His skin flushed red, veins darkened, then silence followed. His breathing stabilized a few seconds later. He then stood up slowly, getting used to the new power. The cave floor cracked beneath his bare feet. He looked down at his hand and flexed. The air shifted. Status update. Base strength, approximately 50 tons. Lifting force. Sprint speed, up to 200 km per hour. Short burst. Durability, extreme, non-chakra reinforced. Regeneration, serious injuries heal in approximately 48 hours. Stamina, vastly increased. Cairo exhaled slowly. This wasn't peak human anymore. This was something else. The dragon tilted its head, then bumped his leg approvingly. Miku stared. You're terrifying in comparison to most ninja. I can feel it from here. He smiled a little. Second purchase, for Miku. Cairo opened the system again. -70 SP. Remaining, 122 SP. A smaller vial appeared, iridescent silver light swirling inside. Miku blinked. Wait, that's for me. Yes, I want you to be able to keep up with me in the future. She hesitated. Will I faint? Cairo laughs at her. Probably. Quote. She puffed her cheeks. Okay, okay. She hugged the vial dramatically and drank it in one go. Seconds later, light burst outward, radiant and beautiful. Her tiny wings dissolved into particles of light, then reformed larger, more intricate, shimmering with layered translucence. Her body grew from palm size to nearly forearm length. Her hair brightened into a soft silver-blue glow. When the light faded, she hovered steadily, no wobbling and immediate exhaustion. System text appeared. Miku, evolution complete. Tier, mid-level illusion fairy. Bond strength, increased. Enhancements gained. 1. Illusion duration increased. Sustained illusions up to 90 minutes. No immediate hibernation threshold at 20 minutes. 2. Multi-target illusions. Can affect up to 5 Jonan targets simultaneously. Minor distortions. 3. Sensory manipulation upgrade. Not just visual distortion. Can now alter sound perception, temperature sensation, spatial orientation, mild vertigo induction. 4. Emergency cloaking field. Can create a 30-second full stealth veil for Cairo and allies. High energy cost, long cooldown. 5. Fairy regeneration. Fainting no longer forces 3-day hibernation. Severe overuse results in 12-hour dormancy instead. 6. Shared ability boost. Cairo can now borrow short-range illusion casting. Emotional suppression field dampens fear signals. Minor mirage duplication. Miku blinked at her own glowing hands. I feel taller. She twirled mid-air experimentally, then stopped and looked at Cairo. I won't slow you down anymore. Cairo reached up and gently tapped her forehead with a finger. You never did, so don't think like that. Okay. She froze, then flushed bright pink. Okay. The dragon watched all of this with growing interest. It cutely trotted over, wings slightly spread. Cairo already knew what it wanted. He opened the shop, searched, Dragon Enhancement Serum. The listing appeared, and the number beneath it was brutal. Cost, 600 SP. Cairo stared in embarrassment. He had 122 SP remaining. Not even close. The dragon saw this, then huffed a small plume of smoke, acting sassy. Cairo crouched down in front of it. Not yet, my boy. I make you stronger in the future. The dragon blinked slowly. He was intelligent, but it understands only growth and instinct. But it bumped its forehead against his shoulder anyway. A silent agreement to wait until his master makes it stronger or until it grows by itself. When Cairo stepped outside the cave, something fundamental had changed. He moved differently. A 50-ton baseline body hidden under a sound-dampening cloak. A mid-tier illusion fairy hovering invisibly in layered light distortion. A growing red dragon whose fire no longer sputtered but burned as hot as C-rank fireball. Cloud thought they were hunting a rogue summoner. They had no idea they were now tracking something that no longer needed to run. Meanwhile, in the underground market, whispers intensified. Reports say he's gotten stronger. ... Stronger how? ... Caravan guards crushed. Literally. ... Clouds increasing the bounty. And in a dim back room, someone very patient began gathering maps. Because once a rogue grows beyond mid-tier, they either become an asset, or a target worth eliminating personally. The Canyon Tavern went quiet when the broker finished speaking. He's no longer just a rogue. He's an investment problem. A thin hand slid a sealed scroll across the table. Then hire someone who solves problems. A name was written in precise ink. Saki Musashi, high-level Ronin, specialist in anti-shinobi combat. Known for dismantling chakra users without using high-level chakra himself. 2 swords, one designed to disrupt rhythm, one designed to end it. He had walked out of 3 hidden villages alive, and that was saying something about his skill. He accepted the scroll without asking the price. Summoner, he asked calmly. Yeah, with a strange summon. Musashi adjusted the wrapping on his blades. Good. I need to stretch as it's been a while. He preferred opponents who relied on advantages. They were easier to remove. And he began tracking Cairo. Days later, Cairo stood barefoot on stone, shirt discarded, muscles moving under his dark skin with controlled power. He clenched his fist. The cave wall exploded inward with a contained shockwave. Not wild but measured. He inhaled. Borrowed draconic lungs expanded, heat pooling in his chest, then let out a small stream of fire hitting the corner of the cave with a whoosh. Not bad, he thought. The young red dragon was larger now, nearly shoulder-high to Cairo, snorted impatiently. His growing speed had naturally increased, especially after eating a few dead bodies they found earlier. You're leaking flames again, Miku said, hovering midair, hands on her hips. Cairo exhaled. A more controlled stream of fire rolled from his mouth again and struck a marked stone target 20 meters away. It melted in seconds. The dragon chirped approvingly, then immediately headbutted Cairo's leg when he didn't praise it. I know, Cairo muttered. You're better at it than. The dragon puffed smug smoke. Playful and proud but very grumpy when ignored. They sparred next. Cairo borrowed its durability. The dragon lunged. Cairo caught it mid-charge and redirected its momentum, testing how easily he could handle several tons of living muscle. Easily. Too easily. He frowned. Strength without control was just noise, he thought. Miku layered mild distortions around them, visual lag, sound delay, forcing Cairo to adapt to the effect mid-combat. Imagine someone cutting your senses, like those illusion specialists, she said. He nodded as he continues training with his summons. Days passed like this, only stopping to hunt for food and rest. Then he remembered the rumor he'd heard weeks ago. A fortified bandit stronghold in the ravine east of the Dead Trade Road. Former mercenaries, heavy crossbows, stone walls. If he was going to test 50 tons, that was the place. A few hours later, the bandit fortress sat in a natural bowl of rock, wooden palisades reinforced with scavenged iron plates. Watchtowers at 4 corners, 30 men at minimum, armed, organized. Cairo observed from the tree line. Just disciplined criminals, no chakra users on trained ninja levels. He nodded once, then signaled the dragon. The dragon vanished from beside him, stored, then re-summoned inside the ravine's shadowed rear slope. Perimeter, Cairo ordered quietly. Make sure nothing escapes. The dragon's eyes gleamed. It loved this part as it got to snack on people. Tactical assault. Phase 1, disruption. Miku layered false sounds along the west wall, footsteps, whispered commands. Guards shifted. Crossbows rotated towards the disturbance. Cairo moved east. Silent, sound-dampening cloak swallowing impact noise even at inhuman speed. He reached the palisade, placed one hand against reinforced timber, exhaled, pushed. The wall didn't shatter. It folded, wood splintered inward like paper under a hydraulic press. Bandits turned. Too late. Phase 2. Shock. Cairo entered at controlled speed, fast enough to blur, slow enough not to overextend. A charging bandit swung an axe. Cairo caught the handle mid-swing and squeezed. The metal warped. He pivoted and threw the man through a watchtower support beam. Structure compromised. Phase 3. Isolation. Miku projected duplicates of Cairo at 3 positions, forcing the bandits to split formation. Panic spread. He's a demon. No, he's a shinobi. No fucking shinobi hits like that. Then out of nowhere, the dragon emerged at the rear gate, wings flaring wide, unleashing a controlled cone of flame that blocked the only viable escape path. Not wild burning, precision. Anyone who ran toward it fell. The dragon didn't roar. It hunted. Systematic. Cutting off exits. Within 4 minutes, the stronghold was collapsing. Leadership attempted to rally. Cairo ended that attempt by lifting the reinforced iron gate, 3 tons of scrap, and hurling it through the command balcony like throwing a stone. Seconds later, silence began to settle. Smoke drifted. The last cluster of bandits dropped weapons. Then, a new sound. Wooden sandals on stone. Calm, measured, not hurried. A lone figure stepped through the broken western entrance. Wide-brimmed Ronin hat, travel-worn kimono, 2 swords. The air changed. Not chakra. Presence. One remaining bandit stared, face draining of color. That's him. Another whispered, voice shaking. Saki Musashi. Weapons clattered to the ground. One man actually bowed instinctively. Cairo turned slowly. The dragon hissed, wings rising. Miku's glow dimmed instinctively. Musashi surveyed the battlefield once. Burning structures. Collapsed towers. Bandits broken. Then his eyes settled on Cairo. "You've grown, little boy," he said calmly. He stepped forward, unafraid of the dragon's flames. "I was told you were promising." He rested one hand lightly on the hilt of his longer blade. "I prefer to verify for myself whether or not it's true." The surviving bandits backed away, caught between terror of the summoner and reverence for the Ronin who hunted shinobi. The wind shifted. Ash drifted between them. Cairo flexed his fingers once. 50 tons of restrained force humming under skin. The dragon growled low. Miku whispered, "He's different. I have bad feelings when looking at him." Musashi tilted his head slightly. "Send the strange dragon away," he said politely. "Or don't. It won't matter to me." And the battlefield, already ruined, prepared to become something far more dangerous.